Tonight's program is Up Your Game, approaching art galleries for representation. So welcome everyone. So note that all suggestions and tips are my opinions from years of experience as an artist and a gallerist, as well as from input and feedback from other art professionals, such as gallery owners and art organization executives. As we all know, there is no one way to do anything, so you may choose to do things in a different way if you feel that they are best for you and your particular situation. So we'll start out by talking about what gallerists are looking for in artists. So gallerists are looking for artists that create artwork that they can sell. And they're looking for artwork that will match their program. So each gallery has a program. They've decided in advance, we're going to concentrate on contemporary art. We're going to concentrate on contemporary abstract art. We're going to concentrate on landscapes or plein air, or we're going to have paintings only, or we're going to concentrate on artists that explore texture as well as color. So they'll come up with a program. So they're looking for artists that create artwork that will match their program. They're also looking for artists that create artwork that appeal to their clients. So in talking to gallery owners, they share with me that they have about 100 to 200 clients that buy from them on a regular basis. And so they nurture that relationship and they email them and contact them when they get new artwork in. And so they're looking for artwork that will appeal to these clients that they've built up relationships with. They're also looking for artwork that will fall within their price range. So they'll have a price range that we don't go below $2,000 and we don't go above $20,000 or something like that. Okay. So when I ask them, what is the number one thing that you're looking for artwork from artists? They're saying we're looking for artists that create a cohesive body of work. So what is cohesive? Well, it could mean cohesive in subject matter, composition, style, technique, scale, size, shape, medium, presentation, and or framing. So they're looking for a body of work that looks like it's all done by the same artist, that it's cohesive. If they have an exhibition, they can hang your work together and it all works together. It all plays off of each other. They're looking for art that is consistent and identifiable as your artwork in a signature style. So you have a style, whether it is abstract or brushy or very photorealism, etc. They're looking for an artist that has a consistent signature style, that somebody could come into their gallery and go, oh, that's a piece by so-and-so. They can recognize your style. And they're also looking for artists that organize their work by series with variations on a theme. So you may be exploring, let's just say, movement in nature. And one series could be movement in air through the representation of clouds. And another could be the movement of water through waterfalls. And so I'm an artist, we all tend to work on experimenting and trying different things. And so we naturally work in different series. And so what gallerists have told me is when they go to an artist's website and they look at their artwork, they usually end up picking all the artwork from one series. They usually don't pick one from series 2 and 3 from series 1 and 4 from series 3. They usually go together and pick pieces all within the same series. So you make it easier for them to make a selection, okay? They're also looking for artists that create a sufficient number of pieces to sell. So they may want to give you a solo show and they may want 10 or 20 pieces of your work. And they need to know that you have enough pieces to fulfill their needs and that if they sell your work, you have more pieces that will replenish what they've sold. Okay, so that's just a brief introduction of what gallerists are looking for. Do you have any questions about what gallerists are looking for? Okay, so we'll go ahead and resume. Okay, so another thing that I've asked gallerists about in what they're looking for is they're looking for artists that have a passion for art making. And I ask them why, and they say their passion comes through in their work. They are driven to make art. So if you're passionate about something, you're driven to do artwork, then your passion, your drive, your excitement, your energy comes through in your art making. They are sincere and honest in what they're sharing in their work. So that's another thing that's important, that you're not just following everybody else's lead, but you're creating something that's sincere and honest in what you feel, what your interest is. Okay, they're also looking for artists that create artwork with a strong statement or message. So it's important to write an impressive artist statement. So your artist statement is basically your mission statement, what you want people to experience and view when they see your artwork. So your artist statement, as I just said, is your mission statement. This is your opportunity to fully discuss your personal beliefs, influences, motivations, and purpose in making artwork. Gallerists look to this to learn about your work and know what insights they will be able to share with their clients. A well-written artist statement can be an important tool for galleries in selling your work to potential clients. So this is an important tool for them to use. Gallerists expect artists to have a vocabulary that demonstrates their professionalism, education, and knowledge of art history and aesthetics. So they want, if you're going to be attending an opening reception, they want the artists to be able to converse with their guests and to be able to talk about their work and have an educated professional vocabulary. So gallerists expect artists to be able to talk about their work and their art making process. Okay, so any questions about what galleries are looking for? You can raise your hand at this point. Okay, since we have a small group, feel free to ask any questions that occur to you as we go along, since we'll have plenty of time. Okay, so gallerists look for artists that are professional and have a commitment to their art career. So when I ask gallerists, when you go to an artist's website and you look at their bio and their resume, what are you looking for? And they all say we're looking for evidence that the artist is professional, that they have a commitment to their art career, that they're exhibiting their artwork on a regular basis. Other things that they look for is that they're members of art organizations, that they're active out in the community, that they're a member of a local art organization or national art organizations. They're looking for artists that have taken classes to grow their skill. So especially if you're just starting out or you're relatively new to making art, that you're continuing to learn more. Also, if an artist teaches art, that demonstrates that they are proficient in their own skill. They're looking for artists that are active in social media and can bring followers, fans, and art aficionados to opening receptions or artist talks and gallery events. So these are things that they're looking for when they look at your website and they look at your written materials. They're looking for artists that are active in the art community, that don't just stay in their studio and never leave and don't go to events or openings. They're looking for artists that are active in the art community. So if you want to build up your exhibit history, this is important to them to see that you're showing your work on a regular basis. You can do this through alternative venues such as outdoor art fairs, public buildings like lobbies and theater, bank lobbies, etc. Charity events, silent auctions, cafes and coffee houses, bookstores and theaters. You can also join local and national art organizations and participate in their members' art exhibitions, or you can have your work selected for curated shows, or you can submit to juried shows where one or more individual acts as a judge of the submitted work. And that's usually a blind jury situation where they don't actually know the name of the artist. They're judging it by the theme of the show and the images of the artwork. So if you're going to submit to juried exhibitions, this is one of the best ways to build your exhibition histories. You should pay attention to who are the jurors for each competition. The credentials and the reputation of the jurors reflect directly on the competition. This then reflects upon your artwork if it is selected for inclusion. If you want the most renowned and prestigious jurors listed in the exhibition history section of your resume or website, the juror may mean more to the prestige of your inclusion than the organization hosting the competition or exhibition. So a lot of times, curators from museums or other gallery owners are acting as jurors for these exhibitions. Okay, any questions about what we just covered? Raise your hand if you have any questions. Okay, Ruth Ann, go ahead and unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Okay, thank you, Stephen, and thank you for using my full name. I appreciate it.
Sure.
So you were talking about that galleries like to see that you're showing in all sorts of places. So I've been around a while, as you can see by the color of my hair. And so I've shown at, outdoor art fairs. I'm in the Bay Area, so I'm sure you're familiar with, Fine Art in the Park in Los Altos. And I did that for a really long time as part of a couple of co-op galleries, et cetera, et cetera. How do they look at that if that's almost all you have on your CV, or how do they kind of view that?
So first off, we all have a history and we all have things that happen in our lives. So we may concentrate on outdoor art fairs throughout the majority of our art career, and then decide, let's go, work with art galleries now. So, life is organic and they realize that. They love art and they love artists. So as long as you're showing, they're demonstrating to them that you're showing your work, whether it's outdoor art fairs or juried shows or anywhere, that you're getting your artwork out there, then that impresses them. So if you decide, okay, I want to start approaching art galleries, I'd suggest start submitting to juried exhibitions, join a few local or national art organizations and participate with them. So like in the Bay Area, there's the Pacific Art League down in Palo Alto. You're probably familiar with them, and they're very well known. And you could join them, and they have juried shows and member shows. Or you could join the San Francisco Women's Art Organization, and you can participate in their exhibitions. And so this demonstrates that you're getting your artwork out there, that you're serious about showing your art. So it doesn't matter exactly what kind of exhibition or showing, but you should demonstrate that you're showing your work as much as possible on a regular basis. Does it answer your question? Okay, good. Okay, any other questions before we move on? Okay, so let's go ahead and resume the presentation. Okay, so gallerists look for artists that have a strong artist portfolio website. So when they look to your website, there's certain things that should be included in the artist's website. That's including your homepage. And I asked them, when you go to an artist's website, what are you looking for on their homepage? And they answer, we're looking for an image of their best current artwork to capture our attention. They say, we go to an artist's website, we don't have a whole lot of free time. We're very busy. So if we go to an artist's website, we go to their homepage and we don't see something immediately that captures our attention, we won't look any further. We won't go to their portfolio pages or read their bio or anything like that. So you want to have an image or images on your homepage that will capture their attention. They're also looking for a menu bar that's easy to navigate. So you can see in the example below, there's a menu bar at the top of the screen. Also image icons linking to the portfolio page, the biography page, the exhibit history page, if there is one, and the contact page. And so gallerists share with me, we're visual people, just like artists. So if there's an image of the artist in their studio, we're going to click on that knowing that we're going to learn more about that artist. So having images that are going to drive their interest to click on other pages is important to them as well. So they're looking for a portfolio page, and your portfolio, as I mentioned, should be organized into series or collections in a way that makes sense by theme or subject matter. It could also be by medium or year, but the gallerists prefer theme or subject matter. And so they go to a portfolio page, and then you have images linked to each series to entice the visitors to click and view. So if you just have a portfolio menu, and then below it are some words like 3 different titles of series, those titles don't really mean a whole lot. But if you have a portfolio page with an image of one piece of artwork from each series, then the gallerists or even potential purchasers are going to again be driven by the image. And they're going to look at the image and go, oh, this looks really great. I have to look at this series. Okay. And then you should have an umbrella artist statement, and you should have this on the page. So I go to your portfolio page, I see the different series, I see the images of each series, and then I can read your artist statement, your umbrella artist statement for your entire body of work. And this way I'm getting an overview of what you're doing and the different series that you create. Then I click on one of the images and I go to a series page. And so the images should be organized in a grid pattern that's easily seen at a glance. So I've asked gallerists about this, and again, they say, we prefer to have it in a grid pattern. So we could look and see all 10 images or all 20 images all at one time. So if it's a slideshow and they see one image at a time, it can be very challenging because they might be interested in image number 1 and image number 5 and image number 17. And then they have to go back and forth in the slideshow. Whereas if it's a grid pattern, they can see all those images all within the grid, and they get an easy idea of what the entire series entails. You should have thumbnail images of pieces in the series. And again, I ask galleries how many images should be on a page, and they say 10 to 20. I ask them why. They say minimum of 10 to demonstrate that they're proficient in this style, this subject matter, etc., and no more than 20 on a page because it gets to be overwhelming and we might stop scrolling. So I am very proficient in my own artwork, and I've done series that I've done 175 pieces in a series. So I asked them about that, and they said, well, put the additional pieces on another page so they can click here to see additional works. So they can click on each image to see a larger view, and they can see all relevant piece information, which might include the title, the media, the year, the price, and maybe even a short description about the piece. I'm seeing more and more artists do this, where they might have, you click on an image and it has a pipe on a desk, and then in the description it says, I included a yellow pipe in this piece because my grandfather smoked one that was just like this, and it brings me back to, etc. So having a short description about each piece, it could be just one sentence, helps give more information about the piece. And then you can have a short series artist statement on each page. So each series has its own short statement about what's this series about that's different from the other series. Okay, any questions about the artist's website and portfolio? Yes, Brianna, go ahead and unmute yourself to ask your question.
Yeah, I'm wondering about on the homepage, is it better to have just like one awesome piece or a carousel of pieces, or what do they prefer?
Okay, so a carousel or a slideshow of pieces on your homepage, I may be like really enthralled with the piece and go, oh, look at that, look at the red in there. And then all of a sudden it moves on and I'm not finished looking at it. So it could be very frustrating. So I'd rather have like 2 or 3, maybe even 4 stationary images that give a demonstration of the breadth of your artwork. So let's say you do cityscapes and landscapes and still lifes. So if you only had a landscape on your homepage, then I think that's all you do. So if you have one of each series, then it gives me an idea of the breadth of what you do. So a stationary image is very important to the gallerist. That's what they've shared with me. Okay.
Okay, but more than one is okay.
More than one, yes.
Okay.
Especially since the screen is long and wide. And if you
Uh-huh.
do square artwork, then you've got a lot of empty space on each side. So you don't want to have just a whole bunch of empty space. So having like 3 images could fill up the space and look nice on your website.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Thanks for your question. Okay, so we'll go ahead and resume. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is your bio page. And so the gallerists say they like to see a photo of you, and this goes a long way in humanizing you in this digital world. So include a headshot at a minimum. Also consider pictures of you working in your studio or at your exhibitions. And that just makes it helps them connect with you as a person and as an artist. And you should include your artist resume and artist biography. Okay, so there's 2 things. There's the artist resume, and we're going to talk about that first, which is different from the artist bio. An artist resume should give the reader a sense of who you are. A resume is written in a list format in reverse chronological order and can include headings such as personal, education, exhibition history, awards, press, teaching experience, and related experience. Your artist's resume should be straightforward and comprehensive, free of any personal theories or beliefs. Only include employment history if it is pertinent to your artwork and your artist's career. If you are an emerging artist, you may want to list your achievements as a student as well. So a resume, as also many people also call it a CV, they're the same thing for an artist's website. So place your exhibit history on a separate page if there is a sufficient number of exhibitions. So if you have been making artwork for many decades and you have an very extensive exhibition history, you can place that on a separate page, and that way your resume won't be so long. Then there's the artist biography. Your biography should be a brief statement of who you are as a person and as an artist. I suggest that you write it in the third person from an objective point of view. So it's as if somebody of note is writing about you and gives it more credence. Describe where you're from. You can include any relevant education, training, or experience you've had, something unique about yourself, and your current work and goals. So these are things that you can include in your artist biography. You can include a few important factual highlights of your education, exhibits, awards, or art-related experience. So, for example, my artwork is included in the permanent collection of the Riverside Art Museum in Riverside, California. So that's on my resume and my exhibit history, but I also highlight it in my biography because it's an important achievement. Okay, you may include a photograph of yourself to make the biography more personal and put a face to your name. Okay, any questions about the bio page and your biography? Okay, Ruth Ann, go ahead and unmute yourself. You can ask your question.
So, in your bio, can you put who you've studied with?
Yes, I think it's important. Any kind of education, even if you don't have a degree, if you studied with somebody, if you took online classes or workshops, all those things demonstrate that you are striving to be the best artist that you can. And it's impressive to gallery owners. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Uh-oh, I did something wrong. I clicked on the wrong thing. Okay, let's screen share again. Okay, so let's go ahead and on to the next section. So how do you find art galleries to approach? Identify your criteria for galleries to work with. So you want to figure out who should you approach. So you should have your criteria determined in advance. So you want to look for galleries that match your style, your medium colors and sizes. You can want to look for galleries that exhibit work by each of their artists year round. That could be one of your criteria. When I was looking to expand my exhibitions by looking at other galleries, I noticed that a lot of galleries may have artist work in the back room through most of the year, and then they bring the artist's work out for 1 month or 2 months or for a group show one time. And so I thought, how is my work going to sell if it's not on exhibit all year round? So that was one of the criteria that I decided to look for, is galleries that exhibit works by each of their artists all year round and not just 1 or 2 months a year. Your criteria could be galleries that offer artist participation in solo shows. A lot of galleries put that in their contract. Galleries that match your price range. So definitely know what your price range is and look for galleries that you fall within their price range. You want to look for galleries in locations that you target. So if you just want to deal with galleries that are in California, or do you want to do the West Coast? Do you want to try nationwide? So you need to know where you want to target your artwork and by location. And if you're going to be having your artwork in galleries throughout the country, then you're going to have to take into consideration the shipping expense. Okay. So you can visit websites that have comprehensive listing of galleries. So there's artcollecting.com, and artcollecting.com has probably the largest listing of galleries I've ever found online. And it's broken down by state and then by city, major cities in each state. And so you can't, and then you go to each city and then it'll break it down by district within the city. And then also there's the San Francisco Art Dealers Association. So all the major galleries in San Francisco and the Bay Area are members of the Art Dealers Association. And you could look at their website and you can click on each of their names. That goes to a page that gives you a synopsis about who the gallery is, their address, their phone number, and a link to their website. So these two resources are really great to find galleries that you want to approach. So another thing that I found is if you look for other artists who make artwork that is similar to yours, that have a similar history, have been showing and selling artwork for a similar amount of time, you can find galleries that they're showing in. And then you can approach those galleries. So when I decided to expand the number of galleries that I was showing in, that was one of the strategies that I use. So you can check out their websites and find what galleries they have exhibited and sold their artwork in, and then you can contact those galleries. Another thing that when I ask gallerists, how they find artists, they say organically. So this is another thing that you can do, is connect with art galleries organically. So what does this mean? You can visit the galleries, get to know the owner, director, and staff, and become their biggest fan. So I used to go to the art openings, but there would be so many people, and the owner or the director would be so busy that I realized if I go during the week, during the day, they're not going to be so busy and they might have time to spend talking to me. And I'm going to walk in and be their biggest fan and just say, oh, I just love your gallery and I love this work, and ask them about questions. And if they ask, are you looking for artwork to buy? So, I just say, no, I'm just a big art fan, and I just love your gallery and I just love coming in here. And so, usually within 5 minutes of having a conversation with any of these people, they realize that you have a vocabulary that the most of the general public doesn't have. And then they figure you must be an artist. So they may come right out and say, are you an artist? And you can say, yes, I am. But you don't want to say to them, yes, I am, and I'm looking for representation. Can I show you my website? Because that will turn them off. They get approached by artists every day. So just walk in to get to know them organically. Follow galleries on social media, like, comment, and share their posts, which may bring their attention to you. So when I ask gallerists, if you have a stable of artists and one of the artists retires or moves to the other side of the country and you have an opening for your gallery, how do you find new artists? And they say, usually we pick an artist that we already know. So these are we already are aware of. So it's important to connect with these people so that when an opportunity arises, they are aware of you, they're familiar with your artwork. So network with other artists and join art organizations where you may learn of opportunities. Referrals from current exhibiting artists are the #1 way that gallerists find new artists. It's another thing they've shared with me is artists that they represent said, oh, you should check out so-and-so. Their artwork's really great. And that's one of the #1 ways that they find new artists for their galleries. You can participate in portfolio reviews and submit to juried exhibitions where gallerists will see your artwork. Again, this is part of organically connecting with art galleries. Submit to prestigious charity auctions. Many gallerists organize, contribute, and attend these events, and they become aware of you as well. Okay, any questions about approaching gallerists? Okay, so let's go ahead and resume. And again, everything you see in writing is included in the PDF file that I can share with you. So I did some research, like what are the major US art markets? So I looked for where there's a lot of art galleries or a lot of artists are working. And so I came up with this listing, and this is included in the PDF as well. And you'll notice that California has a very large number of art markets in the state. So you can, if you're looking for something in Ohio, you can see there's Cleveland and Columbus both have very large art markets that you can look into. Okay, so you could use this to help you start your search. So how do you submit to art galleries? #1, you want to research and visit art galleries in person before approaching them whenever possible. So I find that approaching a gallery, I want to be prepared. I want to have done my homework. I don't want to just walk in blind. So I want to go to their website, look at the artists they represent, look at the exhibitions that they have held in the past. What is their price range? What's the lowest price? What's the highest price? Do I find that I fall within that? So, and then find out the gallery submission policy and procedure. You'll see that 85% or 90% of all the galleries that have a submission policy is email us with a link to your website. Occasionally, you'll see a submission policy, email us with 10 images attached and your CB, something like that. But usually it's just a link to their website. If a gallery states, we currently are not accepting unsolicited submissions at this time, what it means is do not email them, do not call them by phone either. Okay, so please pay attention to that. So you're going to email the art gallery, send them an email to briefly introduce yourself and your artwork to the gallery director. Acknowledge that you have been in their gallery or visited their website. The email should be a short paragraph in which you describe who you are, for example, a photographer from Palo Alto, and the purpose of sending your portfolio to introduce you to my most recent series of photographs, and highlight a few of your recent achievements from your artist resume, such as my artworks included in the private collection of Bill Gates. You may give a brief description of your artwork. So if you're going to send them an email, it would read like this. I visited your gallery in Laguna Beach last month. While on vacation, I was impressed with your selection of artists. So you're acknowledging, I know who you are, and you give them a little stroke. Then you say, I'm a photographer in Palo Alto, and my artwork or my photographs explore movement in nature. So just very brief, saying where you're located and what type of artwork that you create, and a little bit about the subject matter. And then if you have something to highlight, like my artwork won first place in the Del Mar Art Fair in 2024, you can, share that. And then a new paragraph, you would say, I'm writing you to whatever. So it could be, this is to introduce you to my artwork. If you want to be a little bit more passive, or you could go be direct. I'm interested in representation at your gallery. Please visit my website. Okay, so you could say, this is to introduce my artwork. You may view it at this website. Okay, and then I like to ask for an action. Like, please email me if you're interested, or you may call me if you have any questions, or I'd be happy to set up an appointment to bring some pieces in to show you. So you might give them 2 or 3 different actions that they can choose from. You should conclude with a link to your website, an open invitation to meet the director in person at the gallery, to arrange a studio visit at the director's earliest convenience, or to send additional materials if needed. Okay? Send an informative mailing to introduce them to your work. So if you send them an email and you don't hear back from them, what I usually do is wait 2 or 3 weeks, because they may be on vacation or installing an exhibition. But if I don't hear from them, I usually follow up with one more email. And if I don't hear back from the second email, then I consider an alternative. Now, they may say, we're not accepting unsolicited submissions at this time. But if you send them something in snail mail, a booklet or oversized postcard with images and your website URL, this is something that's a little bit more passive. We used to get tons of postcards and tons of things in the mail, and packets and slides and CDs. And now with the internet, everything's done through email. So as an art gallery owner, I very rarely got anything in the mail from an artist. So when I did, it stood out. And I tried this myself. I did a mailing of postcards when I lived in San Diego. And also, anytime you do like a postcard mailing, it shouldn't be just one. You should be a campaign, like one every quarter. So you send out 4 in a year, and each one has a different image or a different series that it's highlighting and different information on it. So I did this while I lived in San Diego. And the thing that impressed me was not that I got or that gallerists reached out to me right away, but that 2 years later, I got a phone call. Hi, this is so-and-so. I don't know where I got your postcard, but it's on my bulletin board. And I have a client that I'm working with, and your work is exactly what she wants. Can we get together? So what it told me is a postcard or a booklet can go into a file. It can go on a bulletin board. It could go, they can hand it to one of their associates, and it stays there. Whereas an email kind of disappears into the ether after a few days, and they may never see your email again. So this is a really good alternative way to submit to art galleries. So you can create a mail campaign, sending multiple pieces over time. Okay, any questions about approaching art galleries? Raise your hand. Okay, so let's go ahead and resume. Okay, so top reasons why galleries may reject artists. Now, if you've submitted to juried exhibitions, you probably already have an idea of what rejection is like. I'd say out of every 10 juried shows that I submit to, I get into only 1 or 2, and that's just the nature of it. So If you get rejected, it may not be that they don't care about your art, okay? So loving your artwork is only one small part of what goes into the decision of an art gallery to represent you as an artist. There are many complicated factors that they take into consideration, and liking the work usually has very little to do with the final decision. There is no doubt that while liking the artist's work is certainly the first criteria, there are several other hurdles that must be overcome before a gallery will commit to an artist. Understanding these hurdles will help you to effectively present your work to galleries and detach yourself from a sense of personal failure that may follow when a gallery rejects your work. So remember that these are general assumptions. So they may reject your work because it's too similar. A gallery looks at the group of artists they represent, much like an artist looks at a painting. It is not so much the individual artist that is considered, but rather how the art fits into the existing group. Often galleries are reluctant to take artists that are too similar to an artist they already represent, or your work could be too different. All galleries try to create a niche for themselves by representing artists that are stylistically similar and would appeal to their core group of collectors. If your work is outside the arbitrary parameters that they have established, then you're out of luck. It could be that you're too far away. Unless you have already established a reputation elsewhere, galleries are sometimes reluctant to work with artists outside their regional area. Issues surrounding shipping costs and the inconvenience of getting and returning work in an expedient manner make it often not worth it. Okay. Your work could be too fragile or difficult to store. Regardless of how big a gallery is, there is never enough storage space. So galleries may shy away from work that is three-dimensional or easily breakable or heavy or hard to handle. Your work could be too expensive. Most artists undervalue their work, but some artists have an sense of how to price their work. So prices are established by the law of supply and demand. If a gallery feels that it cannot price your work fairly and still make a 50% commission, they will not be willing to take a chance on you. Or your artwork could be too cheap. Artists often cannot generate enough income from sales to make an exhibition worth it to a gallery. If you have 20 pieces in a show and each piece sells for $500 and your show completely sells out, your gallery only has made $5,000. And that's barely enough to cover the cost of this postage, announcement, and opening reception, their staff, etc. So, they're looking for prices that are higher so they can stay in business. You could be too inexperienced. Many artists start approaching galleries too soon, before their work has fully matured. Most critics and curators say it takes an artist several years after college for their work to fully develop stylistically. Galleries want to make sure that once they commit to you, your work will not make radical or unpredictable changes. Even if a gallery loves your work, they may want to watch your development over a period of years to confirm their initial opinion. Artists must also have enough work of a similar sensibility to mount an exhibition. So there's a gallerist that I know well, and she shared with me recently that their gallery just picked up an artist that they've been watching for the last 3 years. So they've watched them on social media and watched their development, and they felt that now the artist is now ripe and they're ready for our gallery. Too experienced, the gallery fear of failure is strong, particularly in this economic climate. So careful to be sensitive to a price point that is right for their audience. Galleries may not be financially able to risk representing artists who are further along in their career, therefore demanding much higher prices than emerging younger artists. Artists with a long sales history of gradually appreciating prices may find themselves priced out of the current market. So that's another possibility. An artist may be too difficult. Both the artist and the gallery need to have a level of trust and comfort that will guarantee honest communication. If a gallery perceives you as being a difficult person to work with, they tend to veer away. So by understanding the complex gallery criteria, you can more efficiently present yourself. So any questions about what we just covered? Yes, Ruth Ann, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, I have something very specific, and I hope that's okay.
Yeah,
Um,
we've got time, so there's no problem.
Okay, so I just got my MFA at I think you're in Chicago now, is that correct?
Yes.
So I got my MFA at the School of the Art Institute,
Mm-hmm.
Chicago. And for my thesis show, I did an installation. So I'm a painter, but now my work is at the intersection of painting, installation, and performance. And so I did this big installation of 35 paintings that were one piece, even though it was 35 paintings. And then I did a performance I'm going to use art speak, activating the work. So something that's kind of I'm kind of pushing my practice into this other realm, but also like how can I kind of feel like as a painter, yes, I could do all of these things that you say, but then if I want to kind of push this installation slash performance, which could bring in make a show an event as opposed to just artwork on the walls. Is there a way to should I just focus on paintings on the wall, or is this something that galleries would be interested in, or very, very specific kinds of galleries that would want to do something that would be kind of like a performance, a musical
Okay.
activation, etc.
So anything that you can do to get more excitement about the work that's for sale.
Mm-hmm.
So they may not be able to buy you performing, but they can buy the paintings that are on the wall. So anything that you can do, and what is standard is like an artist talk or a workshop where you teach something or a demonstration. If you can do a performance or something like that to add to the experience of the exhibition, that's really great. They're always looking for something to differentiate themselves from other galleries and to call more attention. And it also makes it more newsworthy. So that's another reason to send out an email or to send out a printed invitation or to send out a press release. So just having a show and an opening reception is kind of boring now. So having an installation or a performance or some type of other activity, it really appeals to galleries today.
So an add-on question. So if you're doing something, I don't want to just be about me, but let's say what I just described. Should my postcards and my communication be about this performance aspect? Like, should it be a picture of me in front of the work doing my thing, as opposed to like a hero shot of?
So if you do a postcard, let's just say I like to do a jumbo postcard, the regular 4x6 are kind of small. So you do like a 6x8, and then you could have one photo of an actual piece of work and one photo of you doing your performance. And so they can get an idea of what the work looks like, and they can get an idea of what the performance is like. Also, I suggest a booklet. So there's companies like Shutterfly that you can order on demand a booklet, and there's the 4 sheets, or what is it? I guess it's 2 sheets, 8 pages, that you could have like one spread about the artwork, one spread about the performance, one spread about something else. So you could even mail them a booklet that goes into more depth in the description.
Okay, thank you. That was
Okay,
great.
thanks for your question. I'm happy to answer. Okay, so let's go ahead and resume the presentation. Okay, so I liken a relationship with an art gallery to a marriage. So things that you expect in a successful marriage, you would expect in a successful relationship with an art gallery. So communication. Communication is really important. That you communicate with them. And if you're going to deliver your work, but you're running late, that you let them know, I told you I was going to deliver at 10, but there's a lot of traffic. I'm going to be there at 11:30. Or I told you I was going to give you 8 pieces for the show, but the last piece, there was a problem and it's not finished yet, and I'm only going to be able to deliver 7. So nobody likes surprises, especially bad surprises. So communication is really important, and that they communicate with you is also important. Honesty, being upfront. Don't lie to them or try to hide something. Be honest, and they will respect you. Again, they love art and they love artists, and so they want to work with you, and so they're happy to bend if needed, to be able to work with you successfully. Trust, that's another thing. If you want them, they want to be able to trust you. If you say that you're going to do something, that you're going to do it, and that you're going to be able to deliver the work. And you want to trust them that if they're going to say, we cut checks on the 15th of each month for sales from the previous month, that you want to know that you're going to receive a check once a month on a regular basis, that it's going to be on time and not delayed. Respect, treating each other with respect is really important. I've been in galleries where I've seen artists, act like a prima donna, and they don't show respect to the gallery owner. And I'm sure the gallery owner is not happy about that and is looking for a way to get rid of the artist. Responsibility, you want to take responsibility for your career and responsibility for, again, what you say you're going to do. And a commitment. If you say you're going to work with them, then 2 months later, you want to call them and say, well, I found another gallery. They're going to, all the gallery owners, we all know each other. And we see each other, and like the San Francisco Art Dealers Association, they get together for outings and meetings. And so if somebody treats me bad, I'm going to say, look out for so-and-so. This is what they did to me. Or be aware, you can't honor their commitment. So you want to make sure that you fulfill your commitment, and vice versa. And fidelity, that's something that's really important in a marriage to most people. So in a gallery relationship, they say, that they want to have exclusivity geographically of your work in the San Francisco Bay Area. So they don't want to find out that you're cheating on them and showing your work in another gallery in the Bay Area. So that's an important factor as well. So all of those things are important in your relationship with a gallery. Okay, any questions about that? Okay, so let's go ahead and resume. So selling your artwork through art galleries. So you want to set retail prices. So how do you do that? Based on the numbers of years as an artist, the number of exhibitions, the numbers of galleries represented by, the supplies, the framing, the time, the pricing history, the sales history. These are all things you should take into consideration. So most people think about the time, the supplies, things like that. But really what drives the price is more of the esoterical things, the things like the artist's reputation, the artist's history, that they've shown their work for so long, or they've been making artwork for a number of years. And that actually goes more into the pricing than just the easily identified framing, pricing, et cetera, supplies, et cetera. So also another thing that's really important to gallerists in setting your retail prices is that there's consistency in the medium based on the size and complexity as well. So if you do a series of work and there's 18 24 by 24, some of the 24 by 24 paintings take longer, some take less time. Some are more complex, some are a little bit less complex. But if they're all basically the same medium, the same size, and basically the same complexity, they should all be the same price. There's artists that I know that have priced their work that this piece is my favorite. So it's twice the price of all the others. Well, that means that it's subjective, and the gallerist cannot count on what your retail price is going to be. So this is really important to gallerists, is that the prices are consistent by medium size and complexity of the pieces. The galleries generally take 50% commission. So if a piece retails for $10,000, the gallery takes 5,000, the artist takes 5,000, gets 5,000. So you should price your work considering if you haven't been showing through a gallery yet and you're going to start, you have to keep in mind that the gallery is going to take 50%. So I have a friend in the Bay Area that was selling his work through outdoor art fairs and cafes and coffee houses and built up a reputation, and everybody knew his work, and he was selling his large pieces for $2,000. And then a gallery discovered him and said, you know, we want to represent you. And so they said, so your work's going to be $2,000. He goes, well, no, you take 50%. I'm only going to make 1,000. I want to make 2,000. And they said, well, then we have to double your price to 4,000 overnight. We can't do that. The public will not accept a doubling of your price overnight. So the artist painted himself into a corner where he couldn't get gallery representation because he established his work at a retail price that didn't allow for the gallery commission. So that's really something that's important to take into consideration. And then most galleries offer a discount to returning clients. So they may give a 10% or 15% discount to their clients. So you want to find out, is this something that they do, and where does the discount come from? Does it come out of the gallerist cut, or is it shared equally between the artist and the gallery? And then personal sales. If you sell your own artwork at open studios or to friends, they want to know that when you're selling your work personally, that you're selling it for the same price as the gallery price. They don't want to find out that you're underselling them, that you're selling your work for half price or for 20% off on a regular basis. And so then they're in competition with you, and they're not going to want to represent you anymore. And then price increases, that's something that over time, supplies cost more, your reputation grows and gets larger, and you get better known. And so you're going to have price increases. So I like to be in control of my price increases and notify the galleries that as of next year, January 1st, my prices will go up 10%. And I let them know that pieces that were 2,000 were now $2,200, et cetera. So, being in charge of your prices. But you don't want to increase them too quickly and too often, because that may get out of hand. So you want to ease up your prices, test it out, see if there's any resistance. And if there's no resistance, maybe in another year, as you grow in your career and you get more galleries, that you can increase your prices again. Okay. So any questions about selling your work through art galleries? Yes, Ruth Ann, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
So let's say you do different bodies of work. Like you have florals. I'll use me as an example. Let's say you have florals. So I have a gallery that represents me and for just my florals. But I'm not doing florals for anybody else. Is that
So that's an exclusivity. So
okay?
you could have multiple series, and you can have an agreement with the gallery that I sell my florals in the Bay Area only through you, and I sell my landscapes in the Bay Area only through this gallery. And you offer them those types of exclusivity, not just geographically, but within the series. So I know several artists that have exclusivities. They're very well-known artists that their work sells for very high prices, but their work is exclusivity by series for each of the gallery. And that can be very common. Okay.
And what if when you sell, let's say in an open studio, but you're only selling like your printmaking or your work on paper. Is that okay to do? Or
Okay,
is
yes. So
that
there's another thing. And again, the higher the price, the higher the quality of gallery, the more important this becomes. But some galleries have a contract that says all sales go through us.
Mhm.
So if you make a sale at your open studios, you give them 50%, even if they had nothing to do with the sale. So that's usually for the top tier galleries, but that's another situation. So at one point, as I mentioned, I had my work in 12 different galleries, and there's a couple that contacted me and they said, Stephen, we saw your work in Seattle, and we saw your work in Galveston, we saw your work in New Orleans, and we really like your work. And, we really, we'd like to commission you to create 6 pieces for us. So we were at the gallery in New Orleans and we saw this, this, and this. So we'd like colors like that. So since they specified the name of the gallery and they mentioned New Orleans and they mentioned my work there, I said, I'm happy to do that. And so we worked out a contract and agreed on the number of the pieces and the prices and the timing and et cetera. And then I contacted the gallery and said, this couple was in your gallery. And they contacted me and they asked me to make 6 pieces. So I will be giving you 50% of that sale. And don't you think that that gallery was excited and wondered and just thought I was a wonderful artist, and they wanted to show and sell my artwork even more at that point. So it's like that, the thing that I described in a marriage, having a relationship where you want to give back to the gallery and show that you are faithful to them. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yeah, but so a further question to that is if you have, is it in the contract usually then to that anything, let's say you only sell florals at this one gallery, but any work you do even on paper and
Yeah,
printmaking
so
or
we're gonna go over a standard contract, and you
Mhm.
can use
Okay.
that as a basic. If they can have their own, they usually have their own contract. If they don't have a contract, you can use the contract that I'm sharing with you. But if they don't have a contract, I'd be a little leery, you know? But anything like that should be negotiated and included in the contract before you sign the contract. Okay. Okay, thanks for your question. Okay, so let's go ahead and resume the presentation. Okay, so I guess I got a little ahead of myself with the screen. So contracts with art galleries, that's the next thing we're talking about. So there's the geographical exclusivity that we just mentioned. So that's really important. It may just be in that zip code, in the city limits, or in that neighborhood, or in that district, in that state. It could be total West Coast. It could be, anything that the gallery and you agree upon, and then you need to stick to that. The contract should also include the duration of the contract. So is it ongoing to be canceled by either party with 60 days notice? And that's pretty normal. Or is it for a year and then automatically renewed if neither party takes any action? That's another thing that happens. And I know of artists that got stuck with a gallery that was not very honorable, and their contract said if you don't renew the contract, if you don't cancel the contract on the annual anniversary date, then your contract is renewed for another year automatically. And that means we still have exclusivity. Any sale you make, we get a percentage of, et cetera. And the artists were stuck with that gallery that they found was not very scrupulous. Is it in the contract that they will give you a solo exhibition? Is it in the contract that what the gallery commission and the client discounts are? So generally, a gallery's commission is 50%. I sold my artwork through a gallery in Beverly Hills because it's Beverly Hills. The rent is so much higher there. So they said, Stephen, we add an additional 15% upcharge to all the artist's work to help cover our additional rent here. So I agreed to that, and that was included in the contract. So if a piece sold for $1,000, normally at that gallery it would sell for $1,150. And then there was the 50% commission. Shipping costs. So generally, a gallery pays the shipping to the client if the client buys the piece, or to the artist, and the artist pays the shipping to the gallery. So if you're in San Francisco and you're dealing with a gallery in Chicago, you pay for the shipping to Chicago, and then the gallery would pay the shipping to the client or back to you if it doesn't sell. Any other costs like opening reception invitations or music, food and beverage, ads, anything like that should be mentioned in the contract as well, so there's no surprises. Insurance should be included. So does the gallery have insurance? This is important. The gallery in Beverly Hills that I just mentioned, one Sunday morning, I get a call from them. Somebody broke into the store next to us, climbed through the ceiling, over the wall, and stole 39 pieces, 9 of which were yours. We've already contacted our insurance company. They are covering the full cost. And within 30 days, you should have a check from us as if we sold the work. And sure enough, 20 days later, I had a check. So insurance is important because these things happen. I have a friend in San Diego, and there was a gallery that was doing her solo exhibition of her work. She did the installation. The next day, the building burned down the day before the opening, and all her work was destroyed. They had insurance, and she got reimbursed for all the work that was destroyed in the fire. Okay, so any questions about the contract? I believe I have a sample contract that I will send to you, but I don't think it was included in the presentation. Okay, so let's go ahead and resume the presentation. Okay, so gallerists expect artists to sign their artwork. So there's a handful of gallery that feel that a signature is not part of the artwork, that they're purist, and therefore they don't want the artwork to be signed. But the majority of gallery owners want the artwork signed. The signature is like saying, I am the artist, I have finished this work, and here is my signature. It is now complete. So the signature completes the piece. Gallerists expect artists to properly label their artwork. So on the back of the piece, you should have the title of the piece, the information, the medium, the size, if you might put the year, your name should be there. So if your artwork gets separated from the delivery record, they can easily identify your work by looking at the back of the work. You should have a delivery. You should have a delivery record of your artwork. So you have a printed sheet that lists all the information as well, and that you should deliver your artwork on time. My first solo show that I had at a gallery here in Chicago, I delivered the work on time, and they were surprised. And I went, what do you mean you're surprised? They said, we've never had an artist deliver all the pieces all at the same time, all on time. And it's like, oh my God, it's that common. So you impress them by doing all the right things and delivering your work on time. Deliver the artwork in good condition. You wouldn't believe, as a gallery owner, how many artists brought in their work with scratches or nicks on the frame, or scratches on the glass, or little smudges on the mat. We can't sell artwork like that. So we have to turn the artwork down. So it has to be delivered in good condition. And then you need to deliver it with a printed and digital delivery record. So you could create a Word document and you can email them with the Word document, print it out, and then bring in the delivery record with the artwork so they can refer to that easily. Gallerists expect artists to attend opening receptions and participate in artist talks. So there was an exhibition that we had at our gallery, and there was one artist in the exhibition whose work was spectacular. We gave that artist the signature wall, the major wall, and then we had the opening reception, and we had 300 people there, and they were all asking where the artist was. And the artist didn't show up until 30 minutes before the end of the reception. And it was so embarrassing. All these people wanted to meet this artist and learn more about their work, and they weren't there. And so that was an artist that I didn't want to give them primary spot in our gallery anymore. Gallerists expect artists to help promote the events through social media, email newsletters, etc. So they expect the artists to bring in so many people. So if there's a group show and there's 10 artists and each artist brings in 10 people, that's 100 additional people that will be attending the opening reception above and beyond what the gallery normally gets. So that's really important to them as well. And they also expect you to pick up your artwork on time after the exhibition. So if you can't, for some reason, again, communication is important. You should notify them and let them know. So any questions at this point? Okay. So yes, Ruth Ann,
I
go ahead.
do.
Yeah.
So for years now, I've been putting a label on the back of my paintings on the stretcher bar. Usually I glue it on there with the information you said about, but I've seen, I worked for a gallery for a while, and many artists would write on the back of the canvas all that information. So what is preferred and what?
So if you put a label, whether it's self-adhesive or you glue it, it could always over time fall off. Glue doesn't last forever, unfortunately. So it doesn't hurt to have a label that you have attached to it, but also handwrite the information that's more permanent. And you might just put your name and the title on the handwritten, and then the label has the size, the medium, and all the other information. Another thing, and just probably goes without saying, but prices can change, so you don't write the price on the label. Okay?
Mhm. And what about a year? You were kind of,
You know,
I have not been dating my work. So what's your opinion?
so there's two ways to approach this, and I say it's up to the artist. So if you put the date on there and you become important or well known, then it gives them the provenance that this piece was made in this date and this year, and therefore it's their earlier work and therefore more rare and more important. But then you might want to submit your work to a juried exhibition, and it says artwork created in 2024 or afterwards, and it was created in December of 2023. Now, if you dated it, then you can't submit it. So it's like, do I do it? Do I not? But I'd say, if you put the year on it, I think it's helpful.
Okay. And then also signature. So I've been signing my work on because I usually do on either cradle board or stretch canvas. So I write on the side.
Okay. Again, there's a lot of different approaches to that. I feel that it's best to write it on the front where people can see it. It's easy to see. And why is that? You want people to see your name. You want people to recognize this work as yours. And if it's on the side, they may not see it on the side. I had my work in somebody's home. They had bought from me, a gallery. They went to a gallery and bought work from that gallery and had that gallery deliver the work to their home. The gallery owner was in their home. They saw my artwork. They read my signature. They went back to the gallery, researched me, gave me a call and said, we'd like to represent you. We saw your work at so-and-so's home. If I hadn't signed the work where they could see it, I wouldn't have gotten into that gallery. So I prefer to have it on the front because it's part of the marketing of the piece, and that's to be expected. But some artists feel that a signature distracts from the image, and they'll sign it on the back or sign it on the side. So that's up to you, but it should be consistent signature and consistent location.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks for asking all these really good questions. They're adding to my talk. Okay, so let's go ahead and resume. Let's see. Okay, so we're coming to the end of the program. So if you would like me to email you with a PDF file handout of this program, please email me a request to do so at stephen5w@sbcglobal.net. Now, I just want to share with you, once we go through the wrap up, I have a few other things that I want to share. There's a few stories that I want to share with you kind of as a bonus. So don't leave yet because more important information is coming. And if you want to register for any additional programs or events through the Artist Network, you can do so at sfartistnetwork.org. So I do programs every other Monday night. And so in November, there's Navigating the Path to Museum Exhibitions and how to apply for artist grants and residencies. Then I take a break in December and start up again in January. So in January is creating a saleable body of work, writing your artist statement, and then in February, creating an attention-grabbing portfolio website. And then I have programs every other Monday through the end of May. And just to let you know, I provide one-on-one consultations with artists, and it's generally $145. But if you've never worked with me before, I'm offering a $99 first-time special. And this is to help you develop strategy, goals, and action plans for your artist career. So if you're interested, just email me and I can share you more information. And then I want to let you know about the Quick Grant program. So they reimburse artists in California up to $600 for professional development activity. So you could work with me, and at $145, you can do 4 one-hour sessions and get that reimbursed completely by the Quick Grant program. And so the next deadline is November 15th for activity to start after December 15th. So if you're interested in applying, let me know and I can give you more information and help you do this. And as the name Quick Grant implies, it's very quick and easy to do, okay? And then I go to Mexico City every year, and I've started doing art and food tours in Mexico City. And I do these in conjunction to the major art fairs in February. So if you're interested, you can learn more about it at the Artist Network website. And I also now offer art and food tours in Mexico, in Chicago as well, in May and September. And so you can learn more about that. We visit art galleries, we go to restaurants and try different types of Chicago food, etc. So if you know of other artists that you think would benefit from these programs, please share the website link to the Artist Network website programs with them or forward the emails to them. Okay, so the bonus part of the program, I want to share with you a few things that I've tried that were successful in getting into art galleries. So when I lived in San Diego, and I go up to Laguna Beach every year, and sometimes I would spend a weekend or a long weekend or a week up there. And I thought, why am I going to Laguna Beach but not having my artwork in one of the galleries here? So I decided I should pursue getting into a gallery in Laguna Beach. So I prepared myself. I got a small piece, a sample piece, and put it in my car. I made a packet which had all my written information, my bio, my resume. I had images of my artwork, etc., and I had that ready. And I did my research, and I found that there's basically 3 different sections of Laguna Beach. There's a southern end, a northern end, and a central district. And so I went up and I visited all the galleries. And so I'd go into the galleries and I had my criteria set. And so I was looking at the galleries and I would take a card from each gallery. And when I'd leave the gallery, I'd make a note on the card. And if it was like the perfect gallery for me, I'd make an asterisk with a circle around it. If it was a good gallery for me, I'd just make an asterisk. If it was so-so, I'd make a wavy line. And if it was not right, I'd just make an X. Because at the end of the day, I'd have 20 or 25 business cards, and I forget who was who, so I wanted to make those notes. If I talked to somebody and I didn't get their name on their card, I'd write down their name, so I remember who I talked to, etc. So I went to all these galleries. I spent the day there, and I was prepared, but so far, I'm looking around, looking at the galleries, and none of them were quite the right match. So towards the end of the day, I'm on the north end, and I walk into this one gallery, and I walked in and immediately I went, this is it. This is the gallery for me. This is a perfect match for my work. My work's all about color. All the work in the gallery is very colorful. You walk into the gallery and you just get wow. So I walk into the gallery and I'm looking around, and the gallery owner, comes up and says, "Hi, how are you? Have you been here before?" I said, "No, I've never been in here before, but oh my God, this yellow piece at the end of the gallery, that is amazing. Who is the artist?" And we started talking about the artist. And so it was very obvious from what I was saying, like the juxtaposition of this and that, like, again, only artists use these words. So he said, "Are you an artist?" And I said, "Yes, I am. As a matter of fact." "Oh, this piece over here, I'd say that's my second favorite piece." So I immediately deflected. I didn't want him to think that that's the reason why I was in the gallery, because I was an artist and I'm looking for representation. So we talked a little bit more, and he said, "Well, what kind of art do you do?" I said, "Well, I paint on glass in reverse." He goes, "Well, that sounds really interesting. What kind of subject?" "Well, I paint, it's all about color. It's non-representational, just about color overlapping each other." "Well, that sounds really cool. I'd like to see your work. Do you have a website?" "Well, yes, I do." Notice I'm making him ask all the questions. I'm not making it seem like that's why I'm there. I'm letting him lead the conversation. So he goes to my website. He goes, "Oh, these are really interesting. I'd love to see one in person." "Well, I'm parked down the street. I have a small piece in my car. If you want, I could go down the street and bring you one of the pieces." So I go and get the piece and a packet, and I come back to the gallery and I walk in and I show him the piece. He goes, "Oh my God, this is great. I love this." "Okay, I tell you what, I don't have an opening for a show right now, but at the end of the year in November, I have a group show. Your work would be perfect for that." So we worked out that my work would be included in that show. So I wanted that to happen, but I let him drive the entire conversation. Okay, so another story. One of my good friends, we have the same birthday, lives in London. And so every November, I'd go and spend the month of November with my friend in London. And after like 3 or 4 times of going to London, I went, "I'm in 10 galleries in the US. Why am I not in a gallery in London?" So I thought, I'm going to do the research and I'm going to visit galleries in London. So I had brought a piece of mine over with me, and again, a packet or several packets. And I devoted a week to going to galleries in London. So I found that the galleries in London were mostly all high-end galleries. And there were very few galleries that had that medium price range that I was at. But the last day of the week, on Friday, I went up to Camden Town, which is one of my favorite parts of London. And I went to Chalk Farm Gallery. And I walked in the gallery and I went, this is it. Again, I could see the very bright and colorful things. They had kaleidoscopes and boxes and paintings and sculpture and a variety of things and a variety of price points. And I just went, my work will fit in here great. So this was long ago, before the internet. So I hopped on the tube and went back to my friend's flat in Paddington, and I picked up the phone and called the gallery. And I asked to talk to the owner, and she answered, or she got on the line. And I said, I'm an artist from the United States, and I was in your gallery earlier today, and I think my work would be a good fit for you. She goes, oh, I am so busy. I just don't have time to meet with anybody. And I'm going to be leaving the following week. So I'm going like, I'm not going to let this opportunity get away. So I said, I tell you what, I have a sample and a packet. And if you don't mind, I won't even take 5 minutes of your time. I'm going to come over. I'm going to leave it with you. And then next week before I leave, I'll come back by and pick it up. And you can look at it at your convenience. And she begrudgingly, you could tell, okay. But it's like this could be another year before I'm back here. So I get back on the tube with my piece and my packet, and I ride it all the way back to Camden Town Market. And I go into her gallery and I ask for her, and she comes up, and I had the piece, in a nice presentation, and I open it up and I pull it out to show her, and she goes, "Oh my God, I love this. This is great. This is what I want. I want 12 of these. I mean, just right then and there. I want 12 of these. I want 3 in red. I want 2 purple. I want that." And she gave me the colors, and she basically wrote an order. So when I got home, I painted exactly what she wanted, and I shipped them to London. So I was a little, or I guess quite a bit pushy, but I felt like this is my opportunity, and I felt confident that this was the right match. So I kind of wedged my toe into the door, and it paid off. So all different kinds of things can happen when you approach galleries. But the first thing that I found is that if you physically go into the gallery, you have a better chance. You get to know the people. James Bocci and Annette Schultz owned Art House Gallery in San Francisco, and South of Market, and I lived in South of Market. So I would go to visit their gallery when I first moved to San Francisco, and I got to know them pretty well. And so it got to the point that I'd walk into the gallery, and James would actually get up out of his seat at his desk and come out to the main gallery and talk to me and show me around. And we'd visit, and we became friends. And, it was an organic relationship. So when he decided he was going to do an exhibition of artists in South of Market, he picked up the phone and called me. Hey, Stephen, I'm going to do an exhibition of artists in South of Market. Do you want to be part of it? Hey, yeah, sure I do. So I got to know him by going into the gallery. And then when an opportunity arose, he invited me. The same with Joan McLaughlin Gallery. Joan had a gallery at 49 Geary, and I go in almost every month, if not every other month, and talk to her and visit with her, and we got to be friendly. And then she had a special event for Salesforce, and they were having a silent auction, and she invited artists to participate. And it was very prestigious and had all these big wigs that were there. And so she invited me to have a piece in the exhibition. So if you don't meet these people or they don't get to know you, then some of the opportunities don't happen. So that's an example of making the connection and making it happen for you. Okay. Any questions before we wind up the session? Yes, Ruth Ann.
Hi again. That question, when you talk about the art in their gallery, and it's so clear that you're an artist. And so I've had the experience. I went to an art fair in Palm Springs, I have a good friend anyway, and I was shopping for her and her husband because I was helping her get art that she and her husband, because I knew them both so well. So I wasn't there as an artist. I was there as an art buyer for my friend. And I walked into a booth, and I'm talking, I asked a few questions about a piece, and the the person who was there turns to me and she, after talking to me very nicely. And then I said, oh, I really like the way, this color is against this color and you get this vibration, whatever I said. Clearly I was an artist. And she goes, are you an artist? And I said, yes, I am. And she just turned around
Yes.
and walked away from me. So I didn't have that opportunity to say, and so, obviously she lost. I mean, there were two pieces I was actually going to get for my friends.
Yeah.
And she missed a big sale and probably continual collectors. But anyway, that's her problem. But my question to you is, so I like you talked about like this tactic of pointing out something else that you liked in the gallery. Do you have any other tips?
Okay, so first off, in the situation that you're in, if you're specifically there to buy art for somebody else, I would have replied, I'm here to buy art for something, or what's the term? For someone else, but there's in place of somebody. Anyway, I'm here to buy artwork for a friend of mine for their new home, but yes, I am an artist. So you start out with a fact. I am here to buy art, but yes, I'm an artist. So that would have been, but if you're just there looking and they ask, I've had that happen to me. There's a gallery here in Chicago, and I found out after this happened to me, everybody's had a bad experience with this gallery. I walked into the gallery and the owner gets up and he says, so what are you looking for today? I said, well, I'm just looking. So are you looking for anything in particular? No, I'm just browsing around. So do you live here in Chicago? No, I live in San Francisco. I own a gallery there. Well, the gallery's closed. And while he's saying this, two people walk in and he does this with them. He says, come on in. And I turned to the people. I said, oh, the gallery's closed. He just kicked me out. So I mentioned this to several other people and they said, you wouldn't believe what happened to me. So I did my Chicago tours in September and I had people with me and we were walking by that gallery. I said, I didn't plan on going in here, but let's go in here. And I told them the story. So I walk in with my group and the owner gets up, the same guy, and he says, so who's buying artwork today? He said that outright. And I laughed. He said, it's not funny. I'm here to make money. And so one of the people on the tour, because I told the story, said, well, I'm buying art today. So he said, here, let me show you around. He ignored the rest of us and took that one person around. So there's people like that. And that's just, you have to deal with that. But most galleries owners love art and love artists, and they do it not to make money because they don't make a whole lot of money. They do it because it's their passion. So when you find somebody like that, it's kind of rare, and they're not the norm. Did I answer your question?
Well, I just, some tips on how to, I guess I can, figure that out. But I was
so what I do is I'm just myself. I walk in and I'm just me. I'm just friendly and nice and kind. And I ask a lot of questions because I'm naturally curious. And so if they ask me a question like that, oh yeah, I'm an artist, but then I just immediately go off to something else.
okay.
So it's just every situation is unique and you have to play it by ear and, decide right at that moment what you want to do.
So I do have another question, if that's okay.
We've got time.
Okay, good. And sorry, Brianna and Megan, I'm like you.
Oh,
I'm
they're
very curious.
learning from this too.
I ask a million questions also just for everything. Like I said earlier, I recently over the summer got my MFA. Is that something that would make a difference to a gallery owner?
It is a plus. It definitely makes them feel you've done this education, you've achieved it, then you have more credentials than you did before. So that will not they wouldn't turn you down if you didn't have an MFA, but it'll make them feel more comfortable and more confident in selecting you. And they can use that when they talk to potential clients. Oh, and Ruth Ann has an MFA from Chicago Art Institute, and she did this, and and they can use that in their spiel. And so it's helpful, but it's not necessary.
Okay.
Okay.
And yeah, I have so many questions, but maybe I'll just reach out afterwards. I don't want to dominate
Okay.
the Q&A.
Okay, so what I like to do when I have a program is finish up by asking you what you felt was a key takeaway from tonight's program. So just share with me one thing that you thought was new or important that you learned tonight. So Brianna, if you want to unmute yourself and just share with me one thing that you thought was really important or new that you heard in the program tonight.
Yeah, there was lots of good stuff, but I liked what you said about physical mailers. That you know, in this day and age, everybody sends an email, and
Mhm.
having something that they can put on their bulletin board, or doing a campaign of not just one, but doing them quarterly. I liked that quite a bit. So
Okay, good. I'm glad you
I have
find
lots of notes, so that wasn't the only thing.
okay.
Thank you.
Good. Okay. And Ruth Ann, if you want to unmute yourself and share with me one thing that you felt was a key takeaway from tonight's program for you.
Same with Brianna. It was even though I'm a graphic designer for over 30 years, so of course sending a mailer makes a lot of sense. I've done it before, but it can't hurt to keep doing, because how do you break through the noise? And then the quick grant, that's an amazing piece of advice. The California Quick Grant. So definitely look at that. So thank you.
Okay. So if you want, Megan just shared through chat that the still images on the homepage rather than the slideshow she felt was a key takeaway for her
Thank-
tonight as well.
Same here, because I have a slideshow, and you're absolutely right. I should put still images. So that is going to get changed in the next day or two.
So I do a program about designing your website. And that's one of the first things. We go to different artists' websites, and there's one artist that the entire screen of the homepage is an image that keeps changing. And so I just, sound go, oh, look at that. Look at the yellow there. Whoop, there it goes. Look at this, and there that goes. And it's just like, I don't even have enough time to look at any of the pieces because they keep moving. So in real time, I demonstrate how challenging that is. So good to spend time with you. I'm glad that you found it helpful, and I hope to see you at future programs.